Well, let's get started. I'm going to first turn it over to Monique, who is going to share what is functional nutrition while I pull up some slides.
So, welcome everybody. Like Sandi said, we're always looking for what are the gaps. And I know in the curriculum we put in functional nutrition and using all of the IFM toolkit items and really explained it. But what we realized is the science of nutrition is ever evolving and ever changing. It's not static. And so the biggest gap, as Sandi was saying, that we were seeing in our graduates and kind of universally when we talked to clinicians that were looking to hire coaches, they really wanted them to have a strong understanding. They didn't expect them to be nutritionists, but they wanted to have a strong understanding of where the science is, what's going on with functional nutrition. So we developed this curriculum to fill that gap. And so just going back to basics, what is functional nutrition? What do we mean by that? So it's number one, it's client-centered. So therefore, the care plans or the nutrition plan is always going to be co-created with the client. It's never going to look exactly the same because they're always at a different point of what they are and are not able to give up, include, do, afford. That's always changing. It's based on science. So it's science-based, looking at what is the current science. It's understanding people's genetics, or what we call in functional medicine, their antecedents, and having some understanding of what's going on with their lab values currently so we know where they're heading. We want to reverse what's ever going on now, and we want to prevent what's ever happening in the future. So those are the core ingredients, this personalization. And when we look at nutrition, there's this science called biochemical individuality, or this concept that's been proven that people can vary 100 to 150 fold. That's a wide range in their micronutrient and macronutrient needs at any given time. So understanding that everybody is unique, and functional nutrition, especially working with a coach, that's the beauty, is you can try something, increase people's awareness around food and food choices, and then see how do you feel when you do that. So functional nutrition isn't only about the food and the macronutrients and the micronutrient distributions. It's also about the joy of eating, how you eat, when you eat, who you eat with, because all of those ingredients influence how you assimilate, digest, absorb, and feel about food, how it's impacting you on a cellular level. So as coaches, that's our lean, is to look into, how do you feel? Raise consciousness. What's your behavior around food? How can you stack the deck in your favor with eating slower, chewing better, enhancing your relaxation when you sit down to eat? You have to relax to digest, rest to digest, as they say. So with that, I'll let Sandi kind of go through this slideshow. What we're looking to do is help clients thrive through empowering eating, not making it just about the food, but about the whole experience, about the cooking. We talked about cooking, making it look good, making it smell good, eating with friends and high vibe people, as they say. So Sandi, you can take it from here.
Sure. So when we thought about what we're going to name this course, it became Functional Nutrition for Coaches. To be really clear that, there are other programs available, and they're really good programs, and I know many of you probably went through them, that address nutrition. And often those are tailored. Coaches can take them, but they're really meant for somebody who has a license to allow them to function as a nutrition professional, as a provider, for example. And there are other courses that are meant for medical professionals, for clinicians, for example. But who is developing a course? What we wanted to do is tailor this, that you can have the knowledge, learning this content, but the art of coaching that is going to result in, as Monique said, helping people really feel empowered that they are in charge And so that is why we chose to subtitle it Helping Clients Thrive Through Empowered Eating, because that is really the objective. It's not you telling them what to eat. They're going to come in wanting that. Just tell me what to eat. Tell me a food plan. I'll follow it. We know that doesn't work. But helping them through the right questions, through listening to them, helping them become their own food detectives, understanding what food works well, what food doesn't, and through empowered eating. And as Monique said, it is a community. It is not just that individual in isolation, but looking at their entire environment, their challenges to eating as a perfect diet for them. So, we have a problem, as you know, and that is ultra-processed foods, chronic illness. Up to 90% of chronic diseases are brought on by lifestyle factors, food being a big one. We're seeing a lot in the news right now about additives, and it's great to see. I just saw that Walmart's Sam's Club is getting rid of so many of these chemicals. So that is a good development. But how do people still navigate? So what are the decisions that they're making on a day-to-day basis for themselves, for their families, themselves as part of the community? And so what people tend to do is fall back on one-size-fits-all nutrition advice. Where they're going to go on social media. There's an influencer I just saw one today talking about, how I eat, and people will follow that. Well, it might not be right for them because it is so highly personalized. So we live in a time with massive food confusion, fad diets, influencer diets, and still even talking about the word diet. In fact, we have a whole section on that, on the dieting mentality. And the impact of what's going on in your immune system. So you have probably seen this, that your clients are hungry for clarity, and you can provide that clarity as a guide, not as somebody who is the expert prescribing. And that was the main objective we had. We wanted to present a course that would give you confidence to talk about these topics with your clients, but talk about that in a way where you would feel confident that you are not stepping outside of your scope of practice. So, you can certainly talk about, what's wrong with your traditional nutrition. Well, we're still hearing it's focused on calories or macro only, and it's more reactive. And the functional approach is root cause based. And so these are things that we are going to present in this course. What are the root causes of dysfunction in terms of nutrition? And particularly, as I've said, this integrates seamlessly with health coaching because it's one of the topics that is central. And we see providers wanting to hire coaches or refer to coaches who have some experience in nutrition. But I want to say something about that because that might turn people off if you don't have a background. You are not trained as a certified nutrition specialist. You're not a dietitian. But I was having a conversation with somebody the other day who is planning to hire a lot of our graduates. And she started out by saying that they had to have this particular background. And the more I talked to her about what coaches do, particularly that clients see the coach more like their peer, and they're much more honest. And they will talk about things that they might be ashamed, embarrassed to talk to the provider about, who they see as an expert, or they might perceive them as rushed, not having time to thoroughly answer all their questions. And so they might underreport. And so when I said that to this individual, she said, "Oh, I never thought about that. You're right." And I can see that. And she then said, "Well, yes, it makes perfect sense. We know that people traditionally underreport a lot. So if let's say they're filling out a food log, well, they might conveniently underreport the bag of cookies that they ate, after dinner, for example, for many reasons. But we know this to be true, that they will underreport. They won't talk about why they stopped taking supplements or why they're not following a particular diet or that they so-called cheated on that food plan that was given to them, but they'll tell the coach. And so after we had that conversation, she really had a change of heart in terms of how she was going to write her job description, no longer requiring that prerequisite. And I think that that's something that you can go out and talk to people about, and then they'll get it. Because as a provider, they may be frustrated that people are not being completely honest with them regarding their lifestyle. So we're hoping by taking this course, you'll be able to grow your base. You'll be able to add this to your skill set, to be able to describe that you have taken this course and have passed it, have a certificate of completion. And you can even start to point to improving client outcomes as a result. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. It is 28 hours of national board credits. And we have lots of content. We worked really hard. This course was 2 years in the making. And what I wanted to see first and foremost was resources, handouts, and a lot of the educational resources you can also use with clients. Because what I focused on in particular, the content that had to do with taking the content and turning it into a question, for example. And a lot of it covers eating psychology. We covered a little bit of this in the core program, but now we're talking about more examples of more sample questions that you can start to ask your clients that will help them to be reflective, to talk about some of these issues. And so that's why we have these handouts that are available and just lots of resources. And unlike our core program, it is self-paced. You will have interactive modules, there's quizzes, and a lot of it is based on personal reflection questions. And again, you can take those personal reflection questions, turn around and ask those to your client, but we're hoping that you will do the work yourself, because nothing solidifies the concept and makes it real than going through this yourself and focusing on your own personal experiences. And just for graduates, you are a functional medicine certified health coach. So your designation will be that -FNS, which means functional nutrition specialist. Now, I want to be clear, this is not a license. There is no licensing exam. You will not be licensed. You would not call yourself a certified nutrition specialist, but you can have this and you can explain to people, because it is new. They may not know what it is, but then half the credentials people have, I don't know what they are, and they explain. And so you can explain what this is and what you worked towards to get this. So these are just a few. I won't read them all, but we really want it to be comprehensive. We wanted to look at all aspects of nutrition and going into a deeper dive than we did in the core program. So I'm going to turn it back to Monique to see if you've been listening and seeing the slides, if you have anything that you wanted to add related to what we're going to be teaching.
No, Sandi, you did a great job. I think the biggest question people are probably thinking, well, I took the core curriculum. How is this different? So in the core curriculum, we took each food plan from IFM and taught you how to explicate that particular food plan. And we went through the macronutrient distribution and how you would use their forms and how you would get started. So this is like next level up. So this is a wider net where we're going through all of the latest research, but we're bringing in components that we didn't bring in before, which is really diving down into food psychology, which is the coaching domain. You know, most people know what they should and shouldn't be eating, right? It just because they know what they should be eating doesn't mean they're going to do it, and doesn't mean they're going to be able to attain their personal goals, even though they want to, right? So there's a gap in between, and that gap has to do with mindset And that mindset is the domain of the coach, to help people explore it, to help people figure out, well, what are the barriers? What are the wins? What do they need to do to navigate all different unique situations so that they can have the outcomes and the goals and the transformation around food that they're looking for? So it's not just about macronutrient distribution, although we explain that because that's always the fight, right? And it changes every other year. Now it's everything's protein, protein, protein. It'll change again. First it was no fat, then high fat, then we're all over the map. So that's a moving target. The things that everybody agrees on is some of the stuff that we're going to be going through here. It's the micronutrient distribution. It's working on, how do you improve gut health without putting people on a million supplements? What's the first principle rules of reestablishing the microbiome of the gut, which influences everything else? Really looking and understanding, 85% of the people that come into my office, and I think the statistic may be higher than that nationwide, have some level of metabolic inflexibility. It's a huge problem. This metabolic problem is turning on all sorts of complex chronic disease, depending on what people's genetic lean is. You'll see it in Alzheimer's disease, neurodegenerative disease, cardiovascular disease, arthritis. So understanding how to work with clients and get their increased metabolic flexibility and balance out their glucose and insulin and get them to increase glucose disposal. And that's lifestyle. It's not just food, it's movement, it's blending foods in particular ways. So we have a lot of information about that because it's a hot topic, where we do go through the labs and what the patterns of labs look like. Even though you're not going to be diagnosing them, people are going to be walking in from Function Health or other places with these labs, and to understand the patterns that say to you, hey, let's go on a low glycemic. Let's talk about how we can lower the sugars, lower the alcohol, get people moving. What does their plate look like? So all of those things are included in here, along with how do you cook? How do you begin to prep food, cook food? What if you can't afford? What if you live in a food desert? Like, what can you do in those particular instances? So we go through everything from taste, smell, microbiome, latest science on protein with some of the leading experts. There's, we've got a couple people on panels dialing in on, well, what do you think about the new protein requirements and what are you doing? What are you doing? So you get the group genius of many different opinions based on their interpretation of the science, which is so cool to see. And of course, we're always looking. We have Austin Perlmutter really going in, like, what do you need for brain health? What are the ingredients based on the latest science? How do you work with detox and enhancing the liver and decreasing through food, through movement, through choices, through mindset? How do you decrease fatty liver? What does that look like? And again, it's not like you're diagnosing it, but people are going to be coming to you with these goals. And here's where the beauty is. Then you're going to be doing your coaching skills, going back and forth and helping them explicate a care plan that's in alignment with where they want to go. So you're not telling them what to do. Your job is 4 things. It's to educate them on their options and give them good resources. And we're going to have that for you. We're going to go through the latest science so you can educate them. It's to help them co-create something that's actually doable for them at this moment in time. What's their first rollout? Even though it might not be lofty, I say this all the time, you have to establish the habit before you optimize a habit. First thing may be just giving up diet soda. Whatever their first thing is, that's the coach, is the little baby steps, moving them in the right direction. And then after co-create, it's to evaluate, is this working? How do they feel when they make this change, right? Does it work for them? How does it feel in their body? You want to raise consciousness about their choices and then collaborate when necessary. There may be moments where you're the first rollout, you're looking at the labs for the first time. They clearly have many things that are off balance, and they do need to take it back to their primary care physician. It doesn't mean you don't work on lifestyle. It means that you make the referral, bring this back to your primary care doctor, let them know what it looks like. Or if it's something super complicated, like they have seizures and need to go on a strict ketogenic food plan, and that's not your level of experience, you collaborate with a certified nutritionist. So again, we go through all of this, but your role is huge because there's enough information with AI. People know what they should be eating. but they're not eating what they want to be eating because of different reasons. And that's the conversation that gets the ball rolling, the accountability, the collaboration, the inspiration that coaches bring to the table that can move the dial. If you meet with people every week for 6 weeks, you're going to launch them with a behavior change around food. When I see patients, I get to see them once every 12 weeks. Like, that's not enough time. Like, this is where coaches, clinician extenders like that can really make the difference in empowering people. And that's what we want to do, empowering people around food choices, how you eat, who you eat with, what it looks like, and, what you're eating. All of that matters. So, Sandi, I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Monique. So as Monique mentioned, cooking, that for many people, it's a lost art, or they didn't grow up in kitchens where their parents cooked in their uncomfortable cooking, and they're used to taking out, carry food and not really being comfortable in the kitchen. So we have someone who is trained as a professional chef, and she gives, I loved these webinars. I learned so much about that, to these little hacks that you can teach your clients, and you're totally in scope doing that, but you could conduct a cooking class. And she gives a lot of great insights and practical suggestions for how to do that, if that's something that interests you. On the other end of the spectrum, we have somebody who's a scientist who has done a lot of research. She teaches at a university about science of taste and smell, and how odors and how things are worded influence whether you're going to eat something or not, and whether you're going to like it. For example, we all know, and we talk about this, is the Cinnabon effect. You're not hungry at all. You're walking through a mall, and all of a sudden, this smells really good. I can go for that. Out of sight, out of mind, but then you smell it and suddenly you're craving it. And so this is something that marketers have used for ages, and but helping people understand what might trigger cravings. And also an area that I don't think is talked about enough, it's a serious problem, is loss of smell and loss of taste. And so she goes through those areas, and how, as a coach, you can be really supportive for these individuals. And you could have clinicians referring to you to help their patients with these challenging situations.
The other two things I just want to say that we included that are really important, we included this big craze with the GLP-1 injections. Not only what are they, what's the state of the science on all that, but how do you coach around them? What do you want to look for? What are the food plans? What do you want to include? How do you coach people that are on these particular medications so that they don't have metabolic adaptations and lose all their muscle? The other thing we included, which is really important, is how do you make these food plans culturally relevant? Me and Shilpa went back and forth there. You have an Indian person sitting in front of you. Well, the choices are going to be different. Their lean is different than if you have, different ethnicities. So how do you play to people's ethnic background so that when you're making recommendations, you're working in foods that are ritualistic for that particular culture, and you're not eliminating them, but you're including them in ways that feel respectful.
Yeah, that's so important. So these are just a few of our educators, and some are new to our community. As a faculty member, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, whose expertise is in protein and muscle as the organ of longevity. And so she talks about that. We also have Dr. Johnny Bowden. And then somebody who's not pictured here, but I just think he's fantastic. And his focus has to do with eating in community and the power of community. And that's Sean Stevenson. And so he really focuses on how you can help people eat joyfully, and particularly with others, and how you do that. So that is something where I was adamant about including. That has to do with this whole area of eating psychology and eating in community. The research is so positive, and something that you can have these conversations with people about. And that is, like, are they eating alone? They may eating the healthiest diet for them, but if they're eating in isolation and they're lonely, then is that better than having a meal that maybe wouldn't be as nutritionally sound, but they're laughing and they're enjoying, is a heartwarming experience of being with others. So those are the things that we get into, and I think they're very, very important topics. And something that we did for our finale, so to speak, is we had questions that we asked a lot of our faculty members, and that is to describe their own personal experiences, their favorite meals, what it means to them to eat in community. And so all to focus on the joy of eating. And that's really the main point, if there was a main point of this course, and that is to see food as joy in eating as an experience, as opposed to the other end of the spectrum, which is so micromanaging and becoming orthorexic, where you're paralyzed. You feel like there's nothing I can eat that's safe. And so how do you navigate that? And how do you help clients to have a healthy relationship with food? So we have a limited time for you guys as alumni. You can see here we have a special code, and pay attention. We've got that QR code, and I'm going to leave this up on the screen a bit so that you can take a picture of that. And so we, again, designed this course to deepen your understanding of functional nutrition and to help you feel confident that you can broach these subjects without going out of scope of practice, that you can not only talk to clients about these areas, but that when you are approaching referral sources, that you can share that you have this new credential and that you have gone the extra mile to address these topics, which are very, very current, like as Monique said, the GLP-1, that you can coach people who are on these medications. You will also have material that you can use. Let's say you want to go out and give a community talk. A great one would be brain health. I just talked to one of our graduates who specializes in brain health, and she was saying, she gets so many requests. It started with one retirement community, one senior center. Now she's going to others. There's libraries. These people are hungry for lectures, for workshops on these topics. And so I think the possibilities are endless, especially now. We are all seeing people waking up to wanting to take charge of their health like never before. And so all the indicators are that you are in demand, and you can go out and you can grow, whether you're working for a provider. If you're working for a provider, you can say, I'm going to take this course to better serve your patients. If you have your own business and you want referrals, again, this is another way that gives you credibility, but also that you don't have to be at risk for trying to pass yourself off as a nutritionist and getting into trouble by going out of scope of practice. Yes, so that is correct, Christina. This is called asynchronous. You will not be, there are no requirements for any time that you have to get to a cohort like training session. We are assuming that because you're a graduate, you have already studied and trained as a coach. And so we are not going to be having live cohort meetings as in our main program. Okay, let's see. So, Christine, you said that, yes, correct. We have a key pillar on functional nutrition in the core course. How is this different? And as Monique said, we are going into these topics. We are going into topics that might be considered more controversial. We have a panel where they address some of these topics and talking about GLP-1s, for example. So there's a lot of new content on cutting edge topics. Monique, anything else that you wanted to say on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's different because it's adding on to your body of knowledge. It's not just based on executing of the food plan. It's taking into consideration all of the elements, all of the latest science, all the latest trends. You have the leading experts dialing in on their interpretation and what they actually do in their practice so that you can formulate your own decisions about what you want to do for yourself. And you have places to send your clients so they can listen to information from different experts and make informed decisions about what feels right for them. So, like I said, in the core course, we really took the IFM food plans and taught you how to execute utilizing those food plans that nutritionists had created. This is really just a wider lens in the systems biology approach, where we're looking at all of the different facets of eating and giving you ideas on how to really coach people from every single angle, not just about macronutrients and micronutrient distribution.
Yes, exactly. So Christine also says helping them through the right questions is a key part of coaching. Exactly. And so what's the distinction? And what we're doing is for these talks, we have, for example, Monique moderates many of them, but we also have resources where you can pull up accompanying questions to ask your clients, or what suggestions for activities if clients are interested, but it's through questioning, correct? And so that's why we have a whole list of different questions, possibilities that might spark your curiosity to say, hey, I'm gonna ask my client this if appropriate.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time after each lecture looking at the content, creating coaching considerations, and then working with the marketing team to develop handouts with the coaching considerations, things that you want to ask based on each topic. I know I reviewed 63. I went through it. There may be even more than that, that you're going to be getting with this. I mean, it's pretty extensive to really help you understand, okay, what was just said that's important to you? What are the things you want to think about? What are the questions you want to ask? It's that level of layout for you.
Yes, exactly. So Lori Jean, I hope we answered that, because again, it's without there's no live component, but we are promoting the coaching experience with every piece of content that is there. It's not separated, which is why the National Board approved our application. If it had been just similar to other nutrition courses, we would have been rejected. Because we would not have been tailoring this for how you coach these concepts. Okay, Carol, the best way for older adults to support bone health through diet. So we do focus on the importance of. There's not a webinar specifically for bone health, but that would be something that's a great idea. And we are also looking for subject matter experts. We've had Kevin Ellis as one who's called the Bone Coach. We have other people who are experts in this area. And so we have webinars that are in this course. But as members of the alumni program, you have access to ongoing webinars for Ask the Experts. And that would be a great topic to dig into in that type of format. So I love that suggestion, because again, so many of us are struggling with bone health.
Yep. And it is addressed not directly, but indirectly on many of the panels. Different nutritionists, some of the, Kathy Swift and different nutritionists were dialing in on, Liz Boham on what they do around bone health and some of the nuances of stimulating osteoblast activity in the bones and what are the micronutrient requirements. So it's called out, woven in, kind of embedded in the curriculum. It's not its own standalone.
Yes, exactly. Let's see, Monique, do you want to take this next question from Laura G? Will there be guidance around working with clients who have their nutrigenomic results or other genetic reports?
Yeah. And so that we're working on that in a different arena, meaning we're working on a whole lab component right now where we're going to be looking at the different genes and how you would coach to the different genes. So we are not calling that out specifically, like we're not going through each set of genes and explaining what to do. But this is, for instance, say if someone comes in with a 3x4 genetics, which a lot of us order, that's a fabulous test for coaches, because within that, it tells you what are the things, how does this person need to be eating based on their genetics? What are their considerations? How do they need to be moving? So within that particular test, it's laid out for coaches and clients to have discussion about the recommendations. So you have the genetic people on the back end that have already looked at the genetics and then made lifestyle recommendations based on the genetics, tethered to the genetics, that coaches can execute on and have conversation with the client. So it's not like you're looking at the gene and saying, okay, this person has a COMT and a 1B1 gene, you need to be on sulforaphane. That's not what this test is about. This test is, okay, this person has these particular genes. When the way they want to lean with their exercise is they don't want to do long running. They want to lean towards shorter bursts and more recovery time. They can't metabolize fat really well. They don't want to do a high fat diet. So keto might not be the way to go based on genetics. So it tells you, and then it tells the client, and then it becomes a coaching conversation. Is this something they want to try? Is this something that they actually think they can do? And if they do it, how do they feel when they do it? Just because we know a lot about genes and there's a lot we don't know about genes and nutrition. There's so many interfaces between different genes. So we think we have something and we can tell people they're going to do well on a high fat diet or not well. But then when they do it, if they don't feel good, that's more important than what the lab test shows. So it's not like we're calling it out specifically. Again, it's like the bone thing. It's discussed in many of the topics, and we're working and almost finished with lab curriculum that will be rolled out into the core curriculum and then probably to the grads, where we're going to be going through these nutrigenomic testing. We have some really good lectures coming out on that particular topic, and where does the coach fall, and what does the coaching conversation look like? I know it's a long-winded way of answering that, but that's the state of it right now.
So what about supplements? Yes, we do address. We have panels where we talk about nutrition controversies, and we do address that. And specific age-related nutrition knowledge in the course, such as over 40, perimenopause, menopause. Monique, do you want to take that one?
So yeah, we're talking about the different phases, because you need different protein requirements based on where you are in the lifespan. Like, you actually need more protein in menopause than you do in your 30s, except if you're pregnant. So we're talking about those particular requirements and just having a really good understanding about basically how much people need, and some of the mythology, like who needs the 1 gram to 1 pound. It's really just people that are bodybuilding. It's not everybody. So understanding, and these conversations were had with leading experts to kind of demystify a lot of what's on social media, kind of the misinformation and the lack of personalization. So we do go through that, and it's a really fun conversation with some of the leading nutritionists about this.
Christina, I love that idea. Yes, if you have a close friend considering GLP-1 drugs, well, we have access to other coaches who have certified that you could recommend. So we are a close-knit community, and those are the kinds of things that exactly the format that it will be addressed might be unclear, but we will find a way to make things like that happen. It's really important. Let's see. Are there any upkeep requirements, credentials to maintain? No, we do not have. Once you get that credential, just as in our core program, you do not have to have the requirements. And is there a trial period when beginning the course if it's not as expected? So yes, we do have a window that is a refund, and and perhaps we can have Natalie. Can you write that in the chat so people will know? And it's at the present time, it is only available to FMCA graduates. Let's see, it has interactive modules. We are not talking about interactive where you are having cohort groups, live sessions that you must attend. What we mean by interactive is that they're interactive activities. You're not just listening to the webinar and that's it. You will interact with the information, with quizzes, with journals, for example. And let's see. You mentioned lab review. Will you be providing more education around function health offering? That is not embedded in this course, but as opportunities come up with function, then we will have events around that.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something in that is in the course that I went back and forth with Liz Boham, who runs Mark Hyman's Ultra Wellness Center, and she did a piece on metabolic health where she went over, even though function labs basically is Quest cardiac IQ. So she went through the labs on Quest and explained the patterns that you want to look for metabolic syndrome and what each marker meant. So that is in the curriculum, which really is what Function Health is using. They're using Quest Cardiac IQ.
So the next question is about refresher education. Well, we are committed to that because from the get-go, we had asked the experts, come on, we can't squeeze everything into one course, and over time there's new information, new exciting topics, so we will be presenting that. Exactly what format will be most appealing to you, and that's where we rely on you to give us input, what you would like to see. Is there an opportunity to engage in others if we have questions about the content or just want to talk about with others? As again, this is our first rollout, and so there will be something, but again, exactly how and where that will take place would be determined. Let's see. And then let's see. If a client comes to me with labs that indicate high blood sugar and they're worried and want to know what to do, can you educate them? Yes, absolutely. You can educate them. That is one of the main reasons we built this course, so that you will feel confident in educating them. And there will be resources for your clients as well. C. Ann says, will there be links we can give clients to? Yes. So you will have handouts that are specifically made for clients, and that could be very beneficial for you to have as resources. And yes, Carol, there will be, you will have access to that. And as there are any updates, again, it's to be determined exactly how, when, and where we would have updates. If we aren't yet board certified, but plan to take the exam, but take this course now, the credits won't apply. That would be correct. I am not a best place to ask those kinds of questions is to the board directly. They would have the best up-to-date information. This is not meant to replace the IFM materials that we were provided. This is in addition, this is new, more state-of-the-art rollouts that we have. Let's see, will it be available to others? Yes, I think we have addressed that. We have, at the present time, it is just for you. And again, this will not expire. You will have these materials. There's a lot of questions about that. Are you able to show us a few of the handouts? Let me get back to you on that. We don't have them right now and to pull up on this webinar. So, oh yes, and pardon me for forgetting to mention, we have a wonderful Kalia Waddles who talks about supporting people with conception, fertility, and addresses those issues as well. So, and this you will have, we don't have a deadline. And again, I'm not sure going back and forth with some of this. So we, Carol, in terms of how long you will have to complete, and Natalie behind the scenes, if that has been determined, how long you will have to complete for CEs, you can put that in the chat, but we may get back to you on that. So genetics is huge. I also think speaking from someone who has a ton of genetic, then this is not in the course. Is that what, can you address that, Monique, from Christine?
So I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, she says genetic is huge. She has a lot of polymorphism that impact food sensitivities. And she's wondering if this is in the course.
Well, it's discussed, but it's not called out as a lecture. But we just had Yael, who's genetic expert, like I said, and this, you know, we're creating a curriculum around labs as we speak and almost completed. So that's going to be another rollout that we're doing in addition to this. So people talk about some basic polymorphisms, like if you have a 1B1 genetic or MTHFR, COMT around women's health, you want to lean into cruciferous vegetables, fiber, fermented foods, all that kind of stuff. So we talk about some basic things, but it's not its own lecture. But we've just filmed something for the core curriculum that, you know, me and Sandy are going back and forth and seeing how we're going to package that for alum. That does address all of that specifically.
Question regarding why this curriculum is not included in the core program. Well, we are going beyond. So the core program is IFM's nutrition program. We teach you the food plans, the elimination diet. We don't cover the same ground here. We go deeper into the areas that I know I was getting a lot of questions about, that people were struggling with their clients. How do they stay in scope by talking about these very, very often controversial issues like GLP-1s, for example, and how can they get more knowledge in a way that is a coach approach? And that's why we created this, to go beyond. It goes deeper than what we're covering in the core course. And because it is extensive, this is, we wanted to give you a credential, which is why we chose functional nutrition specialist. The reason we're choosing specialist is because that shows you can specialize as a coach. We didn't want to run any risk, and we had our legal look at this because we want you to stay safe. We do not want to be offering a credential that perhaps you would then go out and get into trouble with going out of scope. Let's see. I think we already addressed the
Sandy,
lab.
Because the question keeps coming up. I just want to so think of what you learned in the core curriculum. That's the foundational stuff that you need to know. If you took this course without that first course with the foundations of how you roll out the food plans, you'd have trouble coaching people and executing. So that's your base. You got all the foundational knowledge on the how to do it. Now, like Sandy was saying, this is the add-on, the expansive view with the current trends and ideas and science. So it's a wider funnel, taking into consideration some nuances. So you'll feel really, what we want you to do is feel really comfortable around food. You will never go out of scope if you understand those four things. Your job is to educate. It's to co-create care plans. It's to help them evaluate through how are you doing, how are you feeling, evaluating how they're doing when they roll out something new, and then to collaborate with clinicians who do have credentials, if you don't, in areas like lab values or really advanced food plans that are out of your level of comfort, like a severe ketogenic food plan with a diabetic, right? That's most people's, that's not their lean unless they're a medical professional.
Carol, you are absolutely right. You get a client and they're coming to more and more with direct-to-consumer whole genome testing and the recommendations there. And this, of course, will give you more insights and more confidence so that you can talk about nutrition with these clients and look at what would be best for them. Regarding the strict, how do you interpret, in terms of the lab results, that is new content that is being added to the core program. As an alumni program member, if you're in the alumni program, you will have access to that.
Well,
that is separate.
Just rest assured that if they're doing direct-to-consumer genomics testing, on that testing, there's going to be interpretations, what they can do about it. If it's direct to consumer. So then the coaching conversation is, this is the recommendation. Are you interested in trying it? What's your first rollout? How do you feel when you do it? Just because it's on a genetic test, honestly, doesn't mean they're going to feel good when they do it, because there's so many different genetics that interface with each other that are responsible for the reactions we have when we eat something or don't eat something. So there's a limitation to saying, this is my genetics, so I should eat this. There really is. We're not there yet. It's not cause and effect like that. multiple genes interact with each other and express themselves, and we can't keep a beat on all that. So it's a first rollout. Okay, this is what the test shows. Is it you're bringing it to me? Are you interested in doing this? I can help you execute on this and break it down. And where do we start? And how do we shop? And how do we cook? And what does that look like? And what are the resources? Most important thing is, how do they feel when they do it? Better or worse? Are we changing lab values? If they're going to a clinician and they're repeating lab, are you changing lab values? Are you losing weight? Do you have more energy? Do you have more clarity? Is your brain fog on or not? Because that's the most important conversation, not what do the genes look like. It's not one gene, one food, ever. So I just wanted to give you some comfort level around these tests.
So we have a lot of questions that have come in about access to the course. Will there be new rollouts as the course grows and changes? So we are just launching this. We rely heavily, as we have since we started FMCA, on your feedback and your suggestions. So how, when, where that will happen is to be determined. So I would encourage you to start here. So many people get courses and then life gets in the way and they don't interact with it. So there's enough content right now. If all you did was master this, this would be an incredible accomplishment. And then down the road, it's just like in goal setting. Down the road, we'll look at, we do want you to have new information as it comes up, and exactly how that will meet your needs, in what format, and when and where. We will determine that based on your feedback. Let's see, can we not say already we are a functional nutrition specialist, given your core part of the program? You can stay, you studied functional nutrition, absolutely, but as far as using that credential that we have created just for this course. Right now it is not in Spanish. And let's see. All right. So I think we have covered the question of the NBHWC is one that we would suggest you go directly to the board regarding that answer. And this has been, I'm going to share. This has been such a pleasure interacting with you. Your questions were great, such interest in this program, and we do welcome your feedback. So as we roll this out, we're really, really excited. And I know our faculty is excited. We've only shared just a few. Dr. Jeffrey Bland talks about, we met with Dr. Bland when this was just an idea. And he and his partner, Dr. Austin Perlmutter, are so on board with this. He teaches the immunorejuvenation part. We have Dr. Terry Walls, who's a big part of it, and then again our demos on how you can help people shop on a budget. We have coaches talking about that, how you can lead cooking classes, for example. So again, I want to thank you for being here, and we welcome your feedback on this. You are the first to hear about this, the first to have access. And again, we did it so that you can feel comfortable, confident to go out and grow your business, to grow your career as a functional medicine certified health coach. Now you have a -FNS. And they'll be curious. They'll want to know what that is. And that's a great opportunity to tell them through a story. So bye, everybody. Monique, thank you. Monique had a huge role in creating this course and teaching for it. So thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.